Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 11, Chapter 38, Give and Gain, Part 1 of 2. For a world pursuing ever-receding happiness and peace and, as a consequence, blinded by the fog of disappointment and disease, the divine is the pillar of light that indicates the path to progress. Man has inherited this realm of work, this world which is but a vast factory where he himself is fashioned from manhood to godhood, if only he applies his energy and skill diligently to the transformation. Man must work every moment of his life. He cannot avoid this burden. His very existence depends upon action, exertion, work. And work results in either good or bad, big or small, powerful or paltry. So man has to be active on the right lines in order to avoid evil and pain. That is the duty he owes to himself. There may be differences among men in physical strength, financial status, intellectual acumen, but all are equal in the eye of God. All have the right and the potentiality to achieve the goal of beggar to the merging in Him. Note that everyone from the beggar to the billionaire is prompted by the urge to achieve Ananda, supreme bliss, based on inner peace, unaffected by ups and downs. Every activity, however elementary or earth-shaking, is subservient to this ideal. This bliss divine is not manufactured by any company, nor available in any shop. It is not something that can be earned from outside and added to the sum of one's possessions. It has to sprout and grow from within, and fostered and treasured within. The individual cannot thrive in isolation. Take the case of the contentment and pleasure that food imparts. A hungry man may hold bundles of currency notes in his grasp, or even plenty of eatables. But unless he consumes the eatables or converts the currency into consumable food and eats them, and they become parts of him, no sense or satisfaction can arise. Similarly, bliss too is an inner experience, an elevating, exhilarating inner calm. It cannot be gained by the accumulation of impediments like cars and houses, land and gold, stocks and shares. How can a cash box appease hunger or a passbook give peace? Ananda is the goal that all seek, either individually or through social activity. Man is a social being, for he can use society to urge him on towards the goal. Society hands over to him the know-how. It gives him the training. It is not a haphazard group which gives him facilities for sensual pleasure. It should not be conceived in that light. Its purpose is much nobler. It is not an instrument for promoting his pursuit of power, authority, or personal advance. Pleasure, pride, dominance, food, these ideals man shares with the bird and the beast. But he is endowed with intelligence, discrimination, a sense of right, the skill to store knowledge in language, and transmit it to subsequent generations. He knows that the security and stability in society is his own stability and security. The individual cannot thrive in isolation. This is the basis of the Vedic prayer, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all worlds be happy. Man has to contribute his best for the happiness of others so that he may be happy. Renunciation makes life worthwhile. And what is the best he can contribute? Each has his particular duty, task, role, as an individual and as a member of the society to which he belongs. Do that duty, carry on that task, play that role as best as you can. That is how one can fulfill himself. The body tingles with health only when every limb, muscle, nerve, and artery and cell does its duty efficiently and well. So too, a factory or a society or a workshop can be happy, healthy, only when each worker or individual does his duty or functions well. But it has become difficult nowadays to discover anyone who is aware of his duty as a unit of the organization or society to which he belongs, or to the country or nation or the world. Unless one develops virtue, uses skill, intelligence, and discrimination in the most beneficial manner, directs his physical might with restraint, his life is wasted in bitterness and grief of others. The Vedas declare, Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage naike amrutatvam anushaha. Not by acts, nor by riches, nor by progeny, but only by renunciation alone can immortality be gained. Renunciation, detachment, sacrifice, giving up, this alone can ensure the highest realization, eternal bliss. Renunciation is the law of life. That is why life is worthwhile and a source of happiness. You have to exhale what you inhale, eliminate what you have consumed. The blood that comes in at one point has to be immediately passed on to the adjacent point. It cannot be retained when it is received, for that would result in a boil or some other serious illness. It is the same in that social, economical, political, and spiritual field. This lesson that everything will be added onto the person who gives up everything was taught in India since ages. Hence, India shown as the Tyaga Bhumi, the Yoga Bhumi, and the Karma Bhumi, the land of renunciation, self-control, and uplifting activity. When the Tyaga, renunciation, way of life was neglected, it has led into the Roga, illness way of life. A life full of weeping and wailing, of clamor for food at other people's doors. Udyoga without yoga will be a handicap. How can Tyaga develop without yoga? The control of the agitations of desire in the mind. You may have air conditioning, but without the conditioning of the mind, how can there be peace? You may control prices, production of steel or cloth, the distribution of food grains, and a number of other things and processes. But unless you have mind control, the rest are barren exercises. Mind control is more heroic and beneficial than any other system of control. A running train cannot be stopped, even if thousands hang on to it and pull it back, but a tiny button in the engine, when it is pressed by the driver, can bring it to a halt. So too, the mind, if controlled, can bring to a halt all the various functions which are sought to be controlled. Now, enormous time and money are wasted to achieve unessential targets, but the most important target, namely mind control, is being neglected. Yoga is the name for that system of control. Now, yoga is neglected. Udyoga, job, is being sought after. Udyoga without yoga will be a handicap, a hindrance. This is the reason why an insidious disease is now spreading fast. Strikes everywhere, for everything, by everybody. From the cooks in the kitchen to the custodians of law and order. The interests of the owner and the workers, the employer and the employees are intertwined. One cannot thrive without the other. They have to be of each other. Problems and tangles are bound to arise. Both parties have the right and duty to solve them by mutual consultation and adjustment. End of part 1 of 2, Bangalore, February 3rd, 1972.